Hello and welcome to Ignite Your Public Speaking, the mindset of a public speaker. A lot of people wonder, how can I be a public speaker? What are the mental elements that includes having the mindset of a public speaker? This is something that I've been wanting to share for a while, and I know that if you are somebody who is beginning your journey on public speaking, it will be valuable for you to actually add these elements and include them in your thinking so that you may develop the proper mindset of a speaker. If you're somebody who already does speak, I think you will still find it valuable, as you may find a different perspective on some of the points that I would touch upon. So let's get into it. Ignite your public speaking. Number one, remember this: everything about public speaking must happen first in the mind of the speaker. So often, years ago, I used to watch speakers on stage and I used to wonder, wow, look at how confident she is. Look at how confident he is. Look at how he or she speaks. Wow, I don't have that quality. I wasn't born like that. We look at the speakers on stage and we often think that the way they are, the confidence level that they portrayed, as if that was something they were born with. And I want you to know that none of that is true. It may be that there are some characteristics that a person might have had which are more prevalent to benefit them in public speaking. Maybe you were very talkative as a child. Maybe you were very outgoing as a child already. Things like that, characteristics like those, will help you in public speaking. But that isn't enough to be a public speaker. There is a lot of other elements that have to be in place in the mind of a person to become a speaker. And what I want you to know is this: everything that you see a speaker being on stage is a rehearsed decision that has allowed that speaker to become the kind of speaker that you are watching. Everything happens in the mind of a speaker first. A speaker has to see himself or herself as a speaker first. You have to acquire that identity. The confidence level that a speaker has on stage is not something that is given to them. It's something that they earn, putting themselves through the experience of speaking. It's not something that they were born with. An audience will never come to a speaker and tell them, okay, you can be a speaker now. Okay, so get on stage. That doesn't happen that way. You got to stop wondering where the confidence comes from, because the confidence, the belief, the identity of being a speaker must begin in your mind. You got to decide that you are a speaker. You got to decide that you will be a public speaker. You got to decide that you will build your confidence through exercises, reading, practicing, etc. You got to decide that you will be the beginning. And then once you acquire those things and you start practicing them and becoming more natural, more habitual with each one of those, that's when you become a speaker. So I want you to know, if you're listening to me and you're doubting yourself, I don't know if I can be a speaker, how do I do that? Just begin by deciding. Remember, the main reason why you're doubting is because you haven't decided. So decide that you will, and then make sure that your actions are according to that decision and begin to work. Everything requires your effort, your focus, your practicing. And today we're going to expand on what are those elements that will help you do just that. This decision is the foundation to be able to acquire the mindset of a speaker. You create the outcome first, then the audience will follow. It doesn't happen the other way. And too often when we look at speakers, we think that if we wait for somebody to give us an incentive to speak or give us the belief to speak, that then we should go ahead and do it. And obviously, if you have relatives, friends, or a mentor who can help you build that belief, it's always helpful. But that is different than thinking that the source of your belief and the source of your intention and commitment is going to come from somewhere else. You got to create it first. You got to acquire it first, and then the audience and the world around you will follow. What are some of the elements you should be conscious as you develop this mindset of being a speaker? What are those elements? How does that look like? I will break that down for you today. And what I will do, I will use the word speaker. And we're going to use each one of those letters to give you one principle that you should add to your thinking, that you should add to your mindset, so that you can acquire the mindset of a public speaker. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? S-P-E-A-K-E-R. The letter S in speaker stands for servant. Servant attitude. A speaker must first embody the mindset of being a servant, having a servant attitude. Part of the reason why you have been facing challenges in your public speaking is because you have allowed your focus to become the challenges and your worries about you first. As I used to be 20 years ago, I used to get on stage or in front of an audience, and everything that I thought of was, oh my God, what are they thinking? What are they gonna say? Do they understand because I have an accent? Oh my God. And I would just make the entire focus my concerns. It wasn't about the message that I have for that audience. It wasn't about the difference that my message could make for that audience. Everything that I focused on was about me, me, me. You must let go of your worries about you and realize that you have a bigger role on that stage or in front of that group. You have a message, you have an experience, you have an idea that you must impart to them and will create change in somebody's life in that audience. You must believe this first though. You gotta know that your worries are not the most important thing. Therefore, they shouldn't even become a focus in your mind. The most important thing is for you to give the best message that you can give to that audience so that you can help somebody there be better with your message and your ideas. That's the servant attitude that I'm talking about. Worry more about them and how you can help them. And that way, your worries will become secondary. And once you do not focus on your worries, guess what? Then your body, your brain won't give you the same physiological response of worrying and anxiety because now your focus has shifted to something else besides your own fears. That's why you must acquire a servant attitude. The letter P in speaker stands for purpose. The definition of purpose is one's intention or objective. What is the goal you have behind your public speaking? What is the reason that you want to publicly speak? However, when it comes to purpose, I tend to think of purpose as something very tangible, something that you can actually see or maybe even touch. So for me, one of my purpose to speak is to help people become better. I can actually see when somebody has a aha moment and now they are better for it. Or maybe when they talk to me and they say, hey, this concept, this idea that you said, wow, I never thought of it that way. Now I'm going to change the way I think and the way I act because of it. One of my purposes is to create change in people's lives, tangible change that they can implement in their own lives. Another one of your purposes may be to be an authority in your industry. Become the authority so that you can really help people there. Maybe it is to make more money, just to make a living from public speaking and be able to travel the world, exchanging your ideas with the world. That purpose needs to be clear in your mind. And that purpose, I think, as I said, it could be something that you can touch, something that you can see. It could be money, maybe buying the new car, maybe being able to buy the new house just from your public speaking. Maybe leaving your job and making a living from public speaking. That's the purpose that I'm talking about. Be clear about that purpose, because when you know your why you are doing something, the how, the when, and the where become easy. But if you do not know your why, the how, the when, and the where become mountains that are difficult to climb and almost impossible. And that's why a lot of people give up before they succeed on anything, because they were not clear about their purpose. The letter E stands for energy. Energy. Do you ever think of yourself as an energy being? Have you ever thought of yourself that way? Probably not. But guess what? You are energy. You're not just the person that you see on the mirror. You truthfully are energy. You are the energy that came from the sun and has changed into this physical body that you see on the mirror. Everything about public speaking is an exchange of energy. You got to start looking at it that way. It is not just words and sounds that you are enunciating when you speak. It is an energy exchange, just dressed up with these sounds that we call words. Your body language on stage is not just you standing there. It is a form of transferring energy to those who are watching you. Have you ever stood next to somebody or maybe met somebody and they didn't say much to you, but you knew that they didn't like you? Yes, they don't have to say anything. It's an energy exchange. In the body language, gestures let you know that they didn't like you. When you do public speaking, I encourage you, start living the physicality of your existence and realize that you are a source of energy, and your words, your volume, your mannerism, your body language, your movement, your facial expressions, everything is an energy exchange, and your audience is there and will feel it from you. So unleash it. Stop holding back. Unleash that exchange, and that will make you a better speaker. The letter A is for aspiration. Aspiration. And I want to differentiate aspiration from purpose, even though they're very similar. A purpose is something that you can see, something that you can touch. An aspiration is the meaning you find behind that purpose. Aspiration, by definition, is the object of hope or ambition. When it comes to your public speaking, what is it that you aspire to? Aspiration has the meaning of why you want to publicly speak. And meaning is more than purpose. Maybe you want to be the first one in your family to completely change the social standing and social trajectory in your family tree. Maybe you want to be the one person that completely changes the industry you are in, and you want to leave a legacy of new ideas that will change the world for generations to come. What is it that you aspire to? Aspiration, more than purpose, is your meaning. It's more than just the money. It's not about the car, which may be the purpose while you're speaking. It's not about making the money, which may be the purpose while you're speaking. It's about the humanity behind your speaking. It's not about the money necessarily. Nothing wrong with wanting the money, okay? But the aspiration part of it is what and how will that change your family? How will that impact the generations of your descendants in future generations? That's the aspiration part. How will you change the world entirely? What is your legacy that you're leaving behind as a message or ideas in a public speaker? That's the aspiration part. And remember, aspiration, more than purpose, is what gives you meaning. Be clear on what that is, and you will see how your ability to speak, your energy, enthusiasm to speak will be ignited from within. The letter K stands for knowledgeable. If you're going to speak about a topic, you better make sure that you are knowledgeable about it. Read everything that you can about it. Read everything, every book, every blog, every podcast, etc. about that topic that you intend to speak about. And then push your mind to think about, do I agree with that approach? Is that approach obsolete and it should be updated today? What are my reasons why I disagree with that approach? And then take a position. Don't be scared to contradict the status quo of the knowledge being disseminated in your industry. Be knowledgeable so that you can make those decisions. Do you agree or not? For example, I took Napoleon Hill's sex transmutation message, which he wrote in Think and Grow Rich back in the 1900s. And after I read it, I noticed and I disagree with the fact that that is the same idea that we are imparting to people today, because that perspective didn't include women. All that perspective changed now if I include women in the discussion. And I took a position on that and then I backed it up. But I had to read, I had to research, I had to look at how women were being thought of during those times and all that stuff. You see what I mean? It is fun though, becoming knowledgeable to take a position about what you want to speak. Make sure that you do that. The E is for engaging. If you're going to be a speaker, you must be an engaging speaker. There are two main elements that you must include in your speaking. Number one, you got to be able to use stories and questions. It is okay to just disseminate a message, but somewhere in between, you gotta intertwine a story, you gotta intertwine questions. How many questions have I asked you today? A story and a question allows you to not just speak to that audience, but speak with that audience. You are able to speak to their inner voice. That's the magic of using stories and questions. The module before this, we talked about stories, so you can listen to that module again. So let me expand a little bit more on questions. You see, the power of questions is that when we ask a question, the people listening have an automatic response, almost like a reflex. So as a speaker, when you ask a question, the audience is very prone to answering. It is extremely difficult to hear a question and then instead of just answering, to come back with another question. The audience will not do that. They will just go ahead and answer the question. The magic is this. Don't tell them what you want them to believe or how you want to influence their thinking. Instead, ask questions so that they'll say to you why they will agree with your message. It's not about telling them what you want to say. It's about asking the right questions so that they'll say what you want to tell them. That's the magic behind questions. You gotta use questions throughout your presentation, okay? And in conjunction with stories, it is a way of engaging the inner voice. Remember that stories allow you to create a movie in the audience's mind. Images that are produced as you describe the details of that story. Together, questions and stories is a powerful mix that will allow you to be an engaging speaker. Begin working on making that part of your mindset and use those tools for you to be a more impactful speaker. The letter R is for relationship. If you are a man, a woman, or maybe somebody who wants a partner, how will you go about developing a relationship with another person? Can you develop a relationship without being transparent? Can you develop a real relationship without giving it your all? Can you develop a relationship without really engaging with that other person? The answer is no to all of those. But I want you to apply that concept to your audience when you speak. You must be in relationship with your audience, which means you got to be willing to be transparent. Talk to them, share yourself with them. Be you, be the unique you, the true you, and let them see that side of you. It's not about becoming somebody who is a fictitious character. It's about you embracing your unique ability, embracing those things that make you different and standing comfortably and confidently in your own skin. That's how you build a real relationship with somebody else. Being your true self. When it comes to public speaking, this is major because a lot of folks always say, I don't like my voice, I don't like how I sound, or I don't like how I look. If you don't like your voice, you gotta realize that your voice is your unique ability. It's what makes you different. Nobody sounds like you. So embrace those differences because those differences are not a liability. In fact, they are your versatility. Just like when you build a relationship with another person, you must embody the mindset when you stand in front of an audience and engage in every way that you can with them and be comfortable doing that, being your true self. So remember, the S is for servant attitude. They are the most important thing. The message is the most important thing. Purpose. Find out why you want to speak. When you know your why, the how, the when, and the where are easy. Energy. You are an energy being, and everything about speaking is an energy exchange. Remember that. E is for energy. Everything about public speaking is an energy exchange. Unleash that energy. Aspiration, more than purpose, is what gives you meaning. Find the humanity behind your reasons why you must do public speaking. Knowledgeable, be a master at the topic that you want to discuss. Agree or disagree with the industry, but back it up. Make sure that you do your research. E stands for engaging. Use stories and questions. Don't just talk to people, speak to their inner voice. That's what's gonna make you a great public speaker, and that's where emotional connection will occur. And the R is for relationship. Be in relationship with your audience. Be willing to put in the effort to be transparent, to be unique, to be you, and allow them to see that, because that's what they will welcome to connect with you. Go out there and be the best public speaker that you can be, because somebody out there is waiting for your message, waiting to hear your voice. See you at the top, where the champions belong.